Podcasting from Ohio, the Buckeye State, this is I'm Married to an African. Being married is hard work, but try being married to someone from a different culture. It's like trying to turn around on a one-way street. So let me help you navigate around all the obstacles. This is your host, Dehadi C, a queen who fell in love overseas in Dakar. Now, 15 years later, 2 kids, a bunch of jobs and ups and downs, we're all still here together. Good morning, everyone. It's me, Dehadi C, your host with I'm Married to an African. Today's episode is titled One Big Happy Family. Consistency, definitely pushing through, pulling through, and doing these podcast episodes because I feel like I said on day one, I feel like I have a lot to share. I feel like my husband and I have grown through a lot, and I don't want to leave anybody else in the shadows thinking that A, it was easy, or B, I have the secret antidote, which I don't. I just feel like more people should talk about what love really looks like so that we all aren't feeling like we're losing in marriage or at life because we're going through issues. That is marriage, right? So, one big happy family. How do you get along with your in-laws? In 2002, that was a long pause. In 2002, when I met my husband, I met his family at the same exact time. It wasn't like he and I were boyfriend and girlfriend for some time, and then he introduced me to his family. I met him and them all at the same time because remember, I had traveled to Africa with a traditional West African dance company to take in information and culture, etc. So it was more like hey everybody, in a sense, like hi, nice to meet you kind of thing, which is cool. It didn't seem very formal until he and I established that we were together, quote unquote, like we were boyfriend and girlfriend. And then things kind of got weird, like, oh God, there's your mom, and my heart is like beating out of my chest. So most Africans live I guess a lot of them live together, for lack of better words. You know, traditionally here in the United States, every family has their own home. Well, in my husband's family, there could be 3 or 4 families living under one roof. So it's like his cousins are truly his brothers in a sense. So my husband has a very large family. But if we talk about same mom, same dad, he has 2 brothers and a sister. So it's a total of 4 of them. And I think that they are super, super sweet people. His sister and I clicked instantly. I adore her. She's super sweet. If I have issues with her brother, she always don't worry about it. Don't even listen to him kind of thing. And I always say, this is between me and you. This is between me and you. And she's like, okay. So we have this whole, this is between me and you kind of pact where I'm able to speak openly and freely. And I don't feel like she's going to say it to his mother or say it to my husband, right? Relay my vent when I vent. She doesn't relay that. His mother also, initially I was nervous to say the least because she can come off very intimidating. She's just very strong, and she stands very firm and in control. And not to say that I would have preferred her to be weak, but she just seems like someone when I first met her, someone that I needed to come correct with. So I respect that. And then he has an older brother and a younger brother, and I affectionately call them my husbands, in a sense, like I love them. But that's just me by nature. I try to see the good in everybody, and sometimes to a fault, but not in this instance. I do genuinely care for them, and I think it's in relationship to our travels back to Senegal as often as we go that we were able to truly create a relationship. These are not just telephone conversations. These are face to face, living amongst each other anywhere from 3 weeks to a month every other year. So my relationship with my in-laws, I would say out of a 10 would be an 8. You know, let's leave 2 points for bad days because they happen, where somebody's like, you're getting on my nerves, right? My husband, his father is equally amazing, and he has a stepfather who is definitely a really cool guy. So my in-laws are cool, and I know everybody doesn't have that same situation, but I am not going to sit here and lie on my podcast. We don't have any beef, no drama, right? Okay. So a couple of years ago, I'll say about 3.5, 4. Yeah, about 4. How old is my son? Yeah, 4 years ago. My husband and I were going through a really, really, really rough time. Our relationship was not in its best place, and I knew I needed help. I wanted it to work out, but we were just on two different ends. And at that same time, my husband suggested, bringing his mother here to the United States. I was all for it because I'm like, when I go back home, she's super cool. She's chill. I feel like I can talk to her about anything, which I did. And when I say anything, I mean, I've talked to this woman about literally everything. So I was like, oh, this would be a perfect opportunity for her to come and, help help us, because I just felt like we had that bond. So we completed the paperwork, and lo and behold, his mother was able to come into the United States with proper paperwork, of course. And she received a visa, a 10-year visa. So when she came to the United States, it was like, our kids were happy. My husband was excited. I was excited. But I was more so like trying to get her pull her to the side. Like, look, we've been going through it. I need you to help me. I want you to tell him that he's been doing boom, 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 completely wrong. He ain't right. Me and you forever. Let's get him, right? No. It did not happen like that. And to my surprise, but I get it. So what ended up happening was that our home got turned literally upside down. What we were used to doing and living, it kind of shifted because my husband now had his mother in his home, and there was a level of responsibility and cultural expectations that he felt compelled to uphold, even though we were no longer in Senegal. And this made us butt heads even more. This actually created tension between his mother and I, because I started to notice that there were some expectations on me that I wasn't, comfortable with doing. And no, she wasn't like trying to make me, become someone else, but it was just like, the way in which she knew how to do things, and it works for her and it makes sense for her. And so she was trying to teach me to do it, but I wasn't trying to do that. And I wasn't trying to completely and utterly take on this role, her role, what she saw as right. So the first time she came to stay with us, it was rocky. I won't lie to you. It was rocky. I had a lot of days where I was sad, because I felt alone in my relationship with my husband. I felt alone in my relationship with my mother-in-law because I felt like an outsider, and that was not a fun feeling. But as the days progressed with her there, I started to understand that there was in the relationship that that my husband and his mother needed to mend and needed to have. And that was okay, And so I started to look at it differently, in that I felt alone because there was a relationship that they were working on as well. To fast forward into this conversation, my mother-in-law ended up staying with us for a year the first time. A year. Yes, I said a year. And yes, it was not easy. That doesn't mean I dislike her. I love her. I love this woman. But that is not an easy task to take on, living with someone, especially when you are the queen. Like, this is my castle, honey, right? So it was a lot. It was a lot of just trying to understand individuals' roles and trying to recreate, not recreate, but create what was going to work in our home. His mother did return back to Senegal after the year was up, and it was bittersweet. I remember crying like, oh no, she's leaving. I'm going to miss her, because no matter how rocky situations are with family, they're family. And so a part of you misses them when it's time for them to go. And I know she loves me. And I know that there were moments where she was probably like, I want to wring this girl's neck. But she's my mother-in-law. And so, I see her as a parent, and I'm sure she looks at me as a child, as her child, And so who doesn't want to knock their kid upside the head every now and then? Or who doesn't want to, suck their teeth at their mother, or roll their eyes behind her, her head, and that things like that. So yeah, we had issues. And it's not that easy to talk to, in the African culture, your elder as you would your peer. It's a whole list of do's and don'ts for approaching, an elder in regards to conflict. So, have you ever considered bringing your mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister, or brother-in-law to the United States? That's my question to you. If you have considered doing something like that, or something like my husband and I did, understand that there are some expectations on you. I know we automatically have expectations of other people when they come into our home, but there's also expectations that they will have of you when they arrive. Okay. First of all, they're completely and utterly grateful that you did this. Who wouldn't be? When I go and visit my husband and his family opens their doors to me, I'm completely humbled by the experience and just by the gratitude and the humility that they have for saying, we're going to take on the responsibility for making sure that you have food, shelter, water, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same exact thing. Also, because you've spent so much money bringing them here, there is also this expectation that you will continue to afford them the ability to live here in the United States. They're not coming over here with jobs. Some of them are, because they already have jobs back at home. It just really depends on what your situation is. If you're bringing them long term, we'll expect that you're going to have to cover their expenses until they get a job, right? They're expecting of you to do that. They're not expecting for you to say, look, you got 60 days and Family Dollar is hiring. They're not. They are not. It's not even cultural to even fathom the idea that someone would say that. Also, when they come, they're not expecting for you to say, oh, you can go live with so-and-so, or you can go. No, they came to live with you. I'm telling you from experience, it'll jack a situation up. So understand cultural expectations when you're bringing someone to the United States, because there are major expectations. They're huge expectations. And if you're okay with that, then cool. But if you're not okay with that, like I always tell you in my podcast, get to talking with your significant other about what you can and cannot do. Know your non-negotiables. Address your non-negotiables up front. Don't wait until the person is here. Don't wait until 3 months later and you try to renege. It's not going to happen. Okay. So that would be my do's and don'ts. My do's and don'ts would be understanding what you can and cannot do, or how you can and cannot help someone of your significant other's family. What is the point of no return for you? What is going to be that thing where it's just like, I bought groceries yesterday and there's no more food in the house? You know, my mother-in-law, unfortunately, does not like American food. That's completely fine. My husband has worked out where he's able to, make sure that she gets her rice and fish, or her rice and lamb daily. I don't have a problem with that. I'm going to eat the rice and fish or the rice and lamb alongside them. One of my major things was just wanting to know when anyone was coming, and wanting to know when that individual was leaving or were planning on leaving. I just like to kind of like scope out, what I'm getting myself into. What am I looking at in regards to dates? I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I know and sometimes I don't know. Some people, that would drive them absolutely insane to feel like someone was invading their personal space. If it were somebody outside of my husband's family, it would drive me insane. And that's just the honest to God truth. I do feel like I am exercising a level of patience because it's his parent. It's his parent. If my mother was living with me, I would want my husband to have the same patience and the same understanding. Understand expectations, know your do's and don'ts, and get your finances ready. Because if you're used to affording a home with for 2 adults and 2 children, and another adult comes in, or 2 other adults, or what have you, that's an expense. So get ready, But if you're saying that you're going to do it, then you have to do it. If you're saying that you're only going to do it for this amount of time, then make sure that that's established and set in stone. If you're saying that you cannot, will not, ain't going to do it, then don't do it. I think sometimes, I'll speak for myself, I dig myself in a hole because in the past, I didn't speak up. And then once I got frustrated, it was like I was ready to turn up, and tell him what, this is and a third, but I never gave him my non-negotiables up front. So he was walking in blindly just as I was. And he was more tolerable of the situation, honestly, because look who we're talking about. But we both had moments where we both had to sit back and say, you know what, let's sit back. Let's reanalyze, what's going on in our home right now. Let's make this work for the both of us. And honestly, that's why I love my husband, because he definitely in most situations was trying to, even when I couldn't see it, he was trying to please everyone in the relationship. And he was doing his best to keep the relationship going in regards to like making sure that me and his mother were still on good terms. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Anytime you're talking about in-laws, it can be tricky. It can be tricky. Sorry about that sound in my building. But yeah, so definitely get your finances together. My piece of advice would be to start talking about what that would look like and doing it now. Because if you're married to someone from another culture, from another country, 9 times out of 10, they would like to bring someone here from their family. So know what that looks like. Start talking about it. Start talking about who it would be. Try to start creating a relationship with this person, because there's a big chance they will come over to the United States. And I don't particularly like to say no to certain things like that, because I feel like my husband made a major sacrifice coming here. So did I. I know I made a major sacrifice with falling in love with someone from another country. But I think that oftentimes they miss their family immensely. Who wouldn't? They miss their lives that they had back at home. Who wouldn't? And so to be able to bring a piece of home to the United States, it makes him a much, he understands that I want what's best for him, and he's happy. I watching him talk to his family over the phone or via Skype, and then that hang up and that deep breath, like I miss my family, I miss my country. That's hard to look at your spouse and know that they're hurting or they're sad or uneasy about not being able to be there and be present. So having her here honestly has done great things for our family and our relationship. Initially, like I said, I wanted her to come and kind of help me, and it didn't happen when I thought it was going to happen. But now that she's come a few more times, and each time she stayed anywhere between 9 months to 12 months, our relationship has grown. And so she's here now, and she's preparing to go back home. But I thought about it the other day, and I want to tell her, thank you, because it was crazy, and it has been crazy, but not every day. I mean, we have had great moments also. But just thank you, because I feel that her presence has assisted my husband and I in strengthening our marriage as well. So I'll leave you guys with a quote. No one should come between you and your spouse. They should come alongside of you, but not between you. And the author of that quote is Ashley McIlwain. So thanks for thinking of me to listen to my podcast, but also thanks for listening to I'm Married to an African with me, your host, Ehadi C.